weeks do not get much worse than what BYU fans just had this past week. Obviously, the Parker Kingston situation is terrible. He's now officially out of the university and off the team. And then Richie Saunders is out for the year. Like, not only arguably the best player on that team, but the heart and soul of the team. It tears an ACL early in the game against Colorado in front of the home crowd. His BYU career is now over. It's just backbreaking, man. So what does it mean for BYU's team? Like, what is it? We can now, I think, start to look at what does it mean for both teams? Like, how much does this affect the football team? How much does this affect the men's basketball team as you have a bit of finality in both of these situations? The Richie Saunders thing makes me sick, man. He seems like such a great guy. I just saw an interview with him on BYU TV this past week, leading up to this game, and he had really a showcase performance against Kansas and Allen Fieldhouse a couple of weeks ago, where I still think he made himself a lot of money there. Like, he's going to have a really good professional career, right? Like, in the grand scheme of things, this is a blip on the radar for Richie Saunders, for sure, full stop. He'll play in the NBA. I think he'll have a really good career. It just is devastating in the moment to lose it like that at BYU, a place that's obviously meant a lot to him. And he has come up and just grown so much as a player. A rare story in college basketball these days where you see a guy come in and work his way up over the course of multiple seasons to become a total star and then go show out in front of multiple NBA GMs at Allen Fieldhouse who are watching the number 1 and number 2 picks, and you really kind of overshadow at least one of them. It's a great story with a crappy ending to this part, but he's going to be good. He's going to be good. But you just knew. I mean, I know he walked off and like waved to the crowd and gave you a little bit of hope there, but it just really felt like that didn't look good. He released a statement. He said, to end my BYU career like this is heartbreaking. I've loved every moment and every challenge that came with representing the school I love. This past 4 years have shaped who I am on and off the court. My story has never been one of ease, and while I didn't plan for this, my career is not over. I will return with more fight and more grit than ever. My goals haven't changed. Now that I believe. I mean, that's a dude that's going to make it work and make it happen. It also just seems like, it happened on the night that they're retiring Jimmer Fredette's jersey, right? This like celebratory event that now gets overshadowed a little bit, or at least just tainted a bit because of the injury. Also not fun, and just added some insult to injury, I think, for BYU fans. So I hate that for you guys. I also hate that my light has gone out. So I hate that for all of us. My apologies here, guys, but just bear with me. Really tough. What does it do to BYU's team? At this point, and I know I was the guy trying to preach patience for BYU's basketball team throughout the struggles, the losing streak, when you were hitting a really hard part of the schedule. I know Oklahoma State, maybe you could dispute me on that, but a Big 12 road game like that at a pretty proud historical program, it's a tough stretch. I think now you do have to BYU should make the tournament. I think the question to me now is is there any ceiling beyond being a round of 64 team without Richie Saunders on that team? I just don't know. I don't know that there is. And so much of it is because you've just taken too many hits. Like, so many players on this team have gone down with injuries. Dawson Baker, who was, going to be like a sixth man type of guy, 38% 3-point shooter, out for the year. Backup point guard Nate Pickens, out for the year. KJ Perry, JUCO transfer that certainly would have played. You got a couple of 4-star players that were coming in that could have been in the mix. Like, you've taken so many hits at this point that it's brutal, because you wonder, as fully constructed, what was the ceiling of this team, especially like AJ DeBonsa is playing some really high level basketball right now. What was the ceiling of this team? I just don't think we're going to know. And so it does feel like now, if you want to say, is it panic time? Well, yeah, with a Richie Saunders injury, yes, I think fair. That's going to be a really tough thing to make up for. And some of it is not just because of how good he is and who you're missing there, but it's because of the cumulative effect of what has happened to this team now. It's just been death by 1,000 cuts. And it's not fair, but it is what it is. And everybody seems to have one of these seasons every now and then, right? I mean, it just happens to the best of everybody. So I think all of us in college basketball are sad to see that happen to Richie Saunders and what could have been a great BYU team. Now, as for the Parker Kingston situation, obviously that takes on a bit of a different tone. I mean, this story makes me sick too, for obvious reasons. But if you did miss the live stream from Thursday night when all this stuff broke out, BYU football standout Parker Kingston was arrested and jailed earlier this week on a felony rape charge. He was let out. It was like $100,000 bond. Yeah, he was released on $100,000 bond, $10,000 cash immediately paid to the court. But BYU released a statement now that has said he's no longer a student at the university, obviously not on the football team either. And BYU is saying that university administration and athletic administration, including BYU head coach Kalani Sitake, were only made aware of the investigation and allegations after Kingston's arrest this past Wednesday, February 11th. So there's another update to the story there. This sure seems like it's a different deal from what happened with Jake Retzloff last year. Retzloff was a civil suit that drug on longer before there was finality with what was going to happen to Retzloff. The honor code at BYU is in play in both of these situations, in addition to obviously the legal ramifications of what was going to happen there. But this certainly, look, there was a year-long investigation into this, almost a year. Basically, yeah, like a year-long investigation. It was last February of 25 when this started. That feels like a much different deal than the civil case that came against Jake Retzloff in terms of the severity of like what Parker Kingston was probably facing here. So I'm not surprised. I guess all that to say, I am not surprised. Again, with no legal expertise, I am not surprised to see that this was the decision by BYU and that they made it this swiftly. So there's that. What it does to the football team, man, I mean, you are losing a really, really good player. This is a guy who had over 900 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns last year. Is it, I guess I would put it to you this way. If you're a BYU fan thinking about the football ramifications and the football implications of this, last year you were losing a starting quarterback. And I was reading actually an article at some point in this process. I read an article from the time that happened with Retzloff last year. And the article, Bear Bachmeier was the third quarterback mentioned. Like he was sort of an afterthought. Like, well, it probably won't be the true freshman to start. And now a year later, look at what's happened to Bear Bachmeier. So somebody can step up here. Kalani Sitake's got a great culture. Receiver theoretically would be less important than quarterback, right? So without getting too far and deep down this road, I just wouldn't completely write off somebody stepping up and becoming a Parker Kingston replacement of sorts. Is it Kyler Casper, Oregon receiver transfers coming over to BYU now? I know it was sort of thought that was going to be like a Chase Roberts replacement, and you are now. I mean, obviously, you're losing your 2 go-to guys at receiver from last year. It's going to be a big hole. It definitely changes some things, but you also at least have spring ball to work through this time too, whereas you did not have that last year, where Bear Bachmeier, did not have that heads up and the opportunity to go through spring ball last year. So anyway, I just feel for you in closing, BYU fans. There will be better weeks than this. You've still got 2 really good programs going with 2 excellent head coaches, and you've got excellent financial support in a day and age where that really matters. So there will be better days, my friends. I will just say that. There will be better days.